Hi, my name's Paul Grogan and welcome to episode 53 of the Gaming Rules podcast. Now this podcast is recorded on the 7th of October 2017. It's about 2 weeks before the big Essen Spiel Fair, so I've got a couple of friends of mine on the show with me to talk about some of the games that we're looking forward to at Essen. So first of all, welcome to the show again, Matt.
Hello.
And Tom.
Hello.
Tom and Matt, for those people who've listened to previous podcasts, are regular sort of co-hosts of the show, so the three of us are going to talk about some of the games that we're looking forward to. Now, it's not just our games that we're going to be talking about. So on the main UK Facebook group for board game chat and trading, which is called the Board Game Trading and Chat UK Facebook group, I did a poll. And over this week, everybody has been going on and voting for what was supposed to be their top game that they were looking forward to. But a number of people voted on many games. So the idea was everybody would only vote on one of them, but I didn't actually say that. So everybody just went and voted for anything they liked the look of. And what we've done is I've now got, as of this morning, we have got the top 5 games on that list. So we're going to go through them. So they are games not chosen by us. They are games voted on effectively by members of that group. There's also Peter from the Netherlands who does the Tabletop Together tool. I've been monitoring that, and again, as of this morning, I've looked at the top 5 games that are on that list, and we're going to go through them as well. Now, there's going to be some crossovers, and then we're going to talk about games that we particularly are interested in that are not on any of the previous lists. So, you both ready?
Yep.
Ready.
Fantastic. Right, so let's first of all look at the top 5 games from the Board Game Trading and Chat Facebook group. And number 1 on that list is Charterstone. Ooh. With 83 votes, I believe.
It's winning by quite a way.
It is actually, yeah. Yeah, the next one down is 48 votes. So strong leader is Charterstone. So for those people who don't know anything about Charterstone, it is a new game from Jamie Stegmaier of Stonemaier Games, who did Scythe and other ones, but Scythe is I think the biggest one that he's done. And it's a new legacy style game. Now, what's interesting about this one, there's 2 things that are interesting about it, from what I know, is it's a legacy game, but nothing gets destroyed. There is no ripping things up in this game. You are purely adding things to the board. So every legacy element of the game is positive. Something has been built rather than something has been destroyed. Now, that information is about a year old, and I've not looked to see if it's changed, but do either of you two know any reason why that's not right?
I haven't heard anything about destroying things.
Right.
I haven't kept up completely on it.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about it not destroying anything either, mind, but
yeah.
It's talking mostly about just building stickers on the...
That's what it is. Well, I think, I mean, when I had Jamie on my podcast, I can't remember when, and I think we were talking about Charterstone then. So this is where my memory is going from, is that all that time ago where he talked about the game on my podcast. So yeah, it's a legacy game. It's played over 12 games. And during that time, you will be building up this town, village, city, whatever it is, by putting stickers on board. But what's different about the game is that after you've played the 12 games of the campaign, unlike Pandemic Legacy, where you effectively might as well just throw the game in the bin because you can't really do anything with it, what you end up with at the end of Charterstone is a fully playable Euro game. And my copy of Charterstone will be different from your copy of Charterstone because our games will have evolved in a different way, which seems cool. So that's what I know about it. What do you two know about it in addition to that, if anything?
I'm really looking forward to Charterstone.
I don't really know much more beyond that. I've kind of been treating it like Pandemic Legacy. Like, I haven't been actively avoiding information. I've seen little bits about it.
Okay.
Kind of what you described, but I want to be surprised about a lot of it.
Yes.
I've seen the rule book that's kind of like a sticker album.
Yep.
Where it's got the gaps like in Pandemic Legacy.
Yep.
Where you'll start off with some quite basic rules, and then probably based on what you do over the course of your 12 games, you'll come up with some, well, I don't know if there'll be unique rules, but you'll uncover rules over the 12 games.
Yes, that's what I'm not sure about. I don't know whether the campaign is going to be linear in the way that Pandemic Legacy was. So by the end of the campaign, you will have put all of those stickers on the board, and you will all go through the same journey, or whether it's going to be a branching storyline like Gloomhaven, where my rulebook at the end of my game might look different from your rulebook. I'm not sure. I suspect it's more the former, so that although our copies at the end of the campaign will be physically different, buildings will be in different places, I believe the rules will probably still the same, but that's just me guessing.
Yeah, I mean, you might end up with different buildings, and then if those buildings have rules associated with them, you could have a different rulebook. But
Sure, true. Artwork style.
ooh,
What do you think about the artwork style?
stunning.
It's beautiful.
It's the there's Mr. Cuddington, the art
Yes.
house that's doing it, and they did like the new brass edition and various things like that as well. They do
And
really
they're very
incredible
different
stuff.
styles.
Yeah.
But yes, looks gorgeous. And I'm such a shallow person. Artwork for me does it. So
Well, when you
that's
I find when you're scrolling through a list of 900 games to try and figure out which ones you like, the artwork does tend to catch the eye first.
yes,
Yeah. You start looking for any reason just to skip to the next game.
Yes.
yeah.
Just to get through the list.
Okay, so that's Charterstone, and that was number 1 on the list as voted for by members of the Board Game Trading and Chat UK Facebook group. On to number 2, Clans of Caledonia with 48 votes. Now, I'm not going to take the lead on talking about this one because I know quite a lot about it. So, who wants to talk about this one?
Tom?
I'll talk about
Good
it. I'll do a video.
You know about it.
It's kind of like economic Terra Mystica. Kind of.
Wait, what?
You've got the same kind of hex map as Terra Mystica, and it's modular and it'll be different every time. And you've got different types of buildings, so you'll build a cow farm, a cheese manufacturing house, and all sorts of things like that, and you'll generate those goods every round. But then there's an economy of all of these goods, so when you sell the goods, the price of them will be driven down because they're supply and demand, and the same when you buy them, the prices will go up. And then there's a load of contracts that you can fulfill by delivering things, and then they will advance your powers towards the end of the game. And like in the Voyages of Marco Polo, every clan has got kind of big powers that break the game, but everyone's power is really crazy. Does that describe it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, economic Terra Mystica. Steve Tudor from Polyhedron Collider called it Terraforming Scotland, which I thought was quite nice. Now, there are similarities in the game to Terra Mystica in that the game plays over a series of rounds. There is a scoring tile that you draw at the start of the game for each of the rounds, and it says what happens at the end of that round. So it gives you an opportunity to do something at the end of the round. It has the action system similar to Terra Mystica in that you go round and round the table, everybody chooses an action. One of those actions is expanding and putting pieces on the board, similar to Terra Mystica, but it's a completely different game. It's obviously, there's mechanisms within it that are inspired by, but the gameplay and everything else is completely different. As you say, you've got the economic part of it, and you're converting. So if you've got a cow on the board, that generates milk, and if you've then got a cheese dairy on the board, you can convert that milk into cheese. And then you've got the dynamic market where you can buy and sell goods from the market, and the price fluctuates depending on the buying and selling. So yeah, there's a whole host of other stuff. It's not just a Terra Mystica in Scotland kind of thing. Yeah, very popular game. Did very well on Kickstarter. As of yesterday, I believe the first backer got their copy. Because he posted it to a Facebook group and said he's going to rewatch my rules video that I did for it. Because he got his first copy yesterday, and the designer of the game contacted him back and said, where are you? Because as far as he knows, that's the first backer copy that's arrived. So it will be available for sale at Essen, but a lot of the backers should have their copies before Essen. And I'm actually going to be working at the booth for them on Friday afternoon. They needed a bit of help, and you know what I'm like about helping people and demoing games, and I thought, I really shouldn't because I need some time to myself. But yes, I will be at the Karma Games booth on the Friday afternoon doing some demos of Clans of Caledonia. Right, number 3 on the list, Gaia Project.
Actual Terra Mystica.
Actual Terra Mystica. Right, Matt, you're going to talk about this one.
Yep. Cool. So this is Terra Mystica in space. So
There
we've
you
had
go. Thank you very
Terra
much.
Mystica in
Number
Scotland.
4.
Yeah.
There's more information about that, isn't there? It's not just Terra Mystica in space, is it? Or is it?
Well, there are, I think, some different actions, but fundamentally you have, rather than your traditional hex grid that we know and love from Terra Mystica, it's a load of modular tiles, all with different planets on them, and the space in between. So
no board is what you're saying?
there's no, well, you can make a board out of a load of modular tiles.
Right. Okay.
So they're big tiles with like half a dozen also to 10 planets on, which you then put together 8 of them to make a big map. So
Right,
every
okay.
game is going to have a different board because Terra Mystica apparently needed more variability.
Yes.
I think people have been playing it quite happily for 5 years.
With the same board?
Hundreds of games with the same board, but now you can play it even more varied.
Yep.
So I do like that now you're actually terraforming planets, which makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
And there's something called Gaia forming, where I think you've got these different type of planets that all races can use,
Okay.
which are the Gaia planets, which is the Gaia Project comes from. And then there seems to be research tracks and more like a, I don't want to say tech tree necessarily because I'm not sure that's correct, but
So the tracks like in the priest favor tracks, whatever, in Terra Mystica, but you're saying that these actually do stuff during the game? They unlock technologies?
I have not looked close enough to say for certain.
Right.
Because this isn't one that I'm that excited by, honestly. I know
Right.
lots of other people are, but it's, I've not played Terra Mystica enough to be burnt out on it. It's
Right.
like it's a game I've played a fair few times, but it's not one I own, so it's not one I play very regularly.
Right.
And so generally when I look at these lists, I kind of filter out ones that are second editions or expansions or
Okay.
even, reworkings quite often. So
Well, I'm going to try and pick a copy of this up because I'm lucky enough to get into Essen the day before. Well, 2 days before this year, and I've heard that there are only going to be a limited number of English language copies available. And I did the same last year with Feast for Odin. Feast for Odin, last year there was only supposed to be a limited number of copies available, and I got in there early on the Wednesday, €60, got it, done. One of the best things I did because you got back to the UK and it was like 95 quid or whatever. And it was like, so I'm doing that this year because even though I don't know whether I want it or not, and that's not because I've looked into it and decided, I haven't looked into it, I haven't had time. But if I don't, a number of people that are near me will. So I'm coming back with a copy, which I may end up keeping, or I may end up just, giving to a friend. So what about you, Tom? Are you excited about this one?
Kind of. I don't really remember Terra Mystica that well. I played it about 3 years ago once, and I remember not liking it very much.
But
it's
in space.
This is in space, which I like more. And I can't remember where I heard about it now, but they were talking about it being a bit streamlined and
yeah, I've heard there's some tweaks.
the little bowls that you've got your magic science in that you have to move things in before you can do your powers. That's been changed in some big way.
really?
So it's nicer.
Well, nicer
And I
than the
remember
bowls.
that annoying me.
The bowls are like one of the best bits.
Well, it was something about. I can't remember if it was EFCA. Maybe it was the last place I was listening to it. You were incentivized in Terra Mystica to remove the things from the bowls so you could advance them faster.
Yeah.
But in here, there's powers that let you add things to the bowls.
Right.
So cool.
More bowl manipulation is what we want.
That's what I want. More bowl manipulation in space.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic.
I was going to say, hopefully the new race powers will be quite different, I suppose. So if you're getting 12 new races with very different ways of playing, then that's going to be...
Hopefully they won't have
quite
just taken the ones from Terra Mystica and put space halflings and space giants.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, number 4 on the list is... I have no idea how you pronounce this. Nusfjord? Yeah, anyway, that one.
Apologies to our Norwegian listeners.
Yes, Nusfjord. So it's Nusfjord. Anyway, that'll do.
Yeah, that's what I'd go for.
Hopefully everybody knows what we're actually talking about, which is a new game from Uwe Rosenberg. So it's Uwe Rosenberg. So straight away, people are, excited about it. And it's probably, it's number 4 on the list. It's only got 31 votes, but it's still number 4 on the list. So who knows something about this game?
It doesn't. It looks a little bit like. Well, at first it looked like the player boards from Glass Road that have changed a bit, but I think that's just because it's got great big, long bush tiles.
Okay.
Like in that. But it's got worker placement where there's, common board and we're all competing over actions, and then you can put cards on your board that give you special elder actions that only you can access, and it's got some kind of stock system where you issue shares of your company. That's about as much as I know.
Really interesting.
But there is I've seen a very, very tiny picture on Board Game Geek that kind of has little speech bubbles coming off it that says these things.
Yeah, the stock market, you can. Money's obviously quite tight because this I think falls into the category of Agricola on the Uwe Rosenberg style of it's tight and quite punishing if you get it wrong. So you can sell your shares to like the central board to get some income, but then other players can buy those shares. And then they own part of your company, and they will profit off of everything you do.
Nice, I like that.
And likewise, I think the elders, which is, the elders of the village, some kind of central mechanic. You can, if you do too much that requires their input, then they end up taking from your company a lot as well. So you can end up not getting anything for all your hard work.
Okay, right. So that game's gone onto my list from what you've just described.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'm just having a look at it on Board Game Geek. So yeah, I'm a fan of Rosenberg's games. Obviously, recently he's done a lot of the, arranging tiles in patterns, kind of like Patchwork and Feast for Odin, and
there's another one this year,
Indian Summer.
Yeah.
But this one, just having a quick look at it on Board Game Geek, looks right up my alley, and the mechanic you described about selling shares for money and then other people buy them and then they profit off you, that's going to keep the 18xx players happy. So it looks like this one's got quite a bit of meat on it. It's 1 to 5 players, made fair games. So yeah, that's gone on the list. Either of you two going to get this one?
Yeah, it's on my list.
Definitely. I just need to see Uwe Rosenberg.
Right, okay.
I've been burned by that a couple of times, but I'm still going to keep doing it.
Yeah, so that's a yes from all three of us. Right, number 5, Photosynthesis. Now, this was out at Gen Con, and there was a lot of people playing this at Gen Con, and a few people had asked me about it. And a friend of mine, Michele, who's an Italian guy who spends half his life living in Exeter, near me, and half his life living in Italy. I say half his life, he sort of does 1 month here and 1 month there. He knows the designer. He's friends with the designer, so he knew the designer from like when he first had this idea of this game, like we all do. Oh yeah, I know a guy who's had an idea for a game. Yeah, like everybody does. But then years and years later, this has actually turned into a game, and the feedback that I got from people who played it at Gen Con was that it's really good.
Yeah, I really like the look of it. I mean, not just the look of it, because it does look
looks gorgeous.
Incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. As you're growing trees on that central, just so pretty. And then,
but the game's about growing trees. It's about photosynthesis. I mean, the name of the game basically sums up what it is. So you have little 3D trees, and the forest grows as you're playing the game, and it just looks really nice.
I've heard the player count, the variation in player count, it changes the experience of the game quite a lot.
Right.
So it's a very different game at 2 players than at 4 players.
Okay.
Because it doesn't really do anything to change how the game works.
Right,
so,
but it plays out differently.
Yeah, well, it plays out differently because you've got so much more space in the 2-player game than in the 4-player game.
Okay, so the board doesn't get any smaller?
So in a 4-player, it's really tight, it's really competitive, it's really fairly brutal from what I've heard. Whereas at 2, it's really quite light and
right,
easy because you have so much more space and you're getting blocked so much less.
Yeah, now there's another game that uses a fixed board size no matter how many players you've got in the game. Terra Mystica, I think. So what we're saying is this is just another Terra Mystica. So no, we're not. We're not. What about you, Tom? Did you have a look at this one?
I saw it when I did the Gen Con list, and it looks beautiful. It's the art is done by, I forget her name, but she did the art for Quadropolis.
Sabrina
and
Miramon.
Dice Hospital. Yes.
Yeah, I know that, because I know all the artists for all the games in existence. I'm not just looking at the BGG page, honestly. So.
I remember their game history, but I don't remember their names. Yeah, it looks very, very beautiful. But
Yes.
and the idea is cool as well. Like you're saying about you're all trying to grow trees and compete, and the shadow of your tree is going to hold back other people's trees and everything.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
that didn't really sound like a game for me, but it sounds cool.
Yeah. I mean, games where the mechanics of the game match reality have so much more appeal, because there's this whole big discussion about theme in games, and I've been involved in a number of discussions between theme and setting. So for those people who are not bored of me going on about this, a little bit of a sidetrack, games that have a setting, the setting is pretty much irrelevant. So Patchwork, for example, the setting of Patchwork is that you're making a quilt. It could be anything. It could be, farming on Mars, whatever. The setting of the game can be transplanted and it doesn't change anything. Theme...
A cottage garden, say.
Yeah. Theme, for example, is where the mechanics of the game fit the reality of what it would be. So if you've got rules in this game that say, right, if you've got a big tree here and the sun's over there, then that tree is casting a shadow here, which means the tree here is going to grow at a slower pace because it's in the shadow of another tree. That's theme. And it makes, certainly for me, games that have that make it more enjoyable for me to play, easier to learn, easier to remember, and easier to teach as well. So that is the top 5 from Board Game Trading and Chat Facebook group. Thank you to everybody who voted on that. And now let's move on to Tabletop Together. Now, Tabletop Together is a website run by Peter over in the Netherlands. He does various reviews and things like that. But a couple of years ago, he created the Tabletop Together tool, which was a really, really useful tool where you could basically add in, games that you liked into a thing. Now, the new Board Game Geek tool does a very, very similar thing, but Peter had his first. Now, what he's got is he's got actually the top 50 games and the top 25 expansions, and it's got ratings. So this isn't just voted on by people, but it's taking lots and lots of information from lots of different places and trying to combine them together, Board Game Geek being one of them. So let's have a look at the top 5. Now, the number 1 game with a rating of 4,035 is Charterstone. So, who knows anything about Charterstone? No, I'm kidding. But it's number 1 on both of the lists that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and it's massively far ahead in this one as well.
And it is, yeah. It's 1.5. It's like, almost 1,500 ratings ahead. So Charterstone's number 1 on both the lists. So let's just touch on that for a minute. Is Charterstone therefore the number 1 most anticipated game that's coming out at Essen?
Well, I think there's another, but it's not on the list on Board Game Geek yet.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Therefore, he's not showing up on any
of these tools and votes. Yeah.
Of these tools. So we'll come to that later.
Yeah, I don't think any Z-Man games have been properly announced yet. Like even the English version of Gaia Project isn't on there.
No. Okay, but yes. So Charterstone is, we've already talked about it, but that is up there. Now, number 2 on this list was a bit of a surprise to me.
I was surprised.
Queendomino. Which is, I've played Kingdomino and absolutely loved it. Yeah. And I thought this is such a brilliant game, such a well-deserved winner of the Spiel des Jahres. It's so good. It's so easy and quick. That, now for me, I don't own a copy yet, but I'm probably going to buy a copy. That's going to be my number 1 gateway game. That has replaced all other gateway games in my collection, as this is now the gateway game that I use on people who've never played gaming before at all. Whereas in the past it would be something like Ticket to Ride or Istanbul or anything like that. Kingdomino now for me is that absolute sweet spot. So Queendomino, what is it? Is it a different game?
It extends Kingdomino, I think. So it's a standalone game. It's not an expansion.
But it can be bolted on.
But it can be bolted on. You can combine both sets, because Kingdomino, when you played it 2-player, you got to build out not to a 5x5 grid of tiles, but to a 7x7 grid of tiles.
7x7, yeah.
So
yep.
if you mix the two sets together, you can then play 4-player and have a 7x7 grid. And
Right.
so that's one thing, but mainly Queendomino on its own adds a whole bunch, a few new elements and mechanics. Like there's towns you can now build, so there's like a side market almost of extra bits you can add.
Yep,
And I don't
can
know
see
in
that.
detail how they work, but Queen's Favours and...
So it's a more complex game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still a gateway game, but it's just got a little bit more meat to it.
Yeah. For some reason, the weight rating is currently at 3 on Board Game Geek, which seems a bit high.
Seems quite high. Yeah, it's also weight 3.00, which probably means one person has rated it at 3, and that's it. But yes, 3 seems high. So yeah, Queendomino. I mean, I've got a friend, Mark, who's got Kingdomino. He was actually going to buy 2 sets of Kingdomino because he wanted to play it with more than 4 players. And then we were like, no, hang on a minute, get Queendomino instead.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he's going to get that. You played Kingdomino, Tom?
I did. I only played it 2 players. I don't think it was great at 2.
No, I've
But
only
you've
played
just-
it 3 and 4, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, you've still got a display of 4 things to choose from, but you've got 2 meeples each to pick the tiles.
Right.
And it
Yeah. I heard that made it harder for the building your thing right, because you're having to arrange more tiles over the course of the game, so you need to be more careful about how you do it. But
Yeah, and we played with the thing that you mentioned where you could play 7x7 as well, and it made it more interesting, but it also made it a lot longer than we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So Queendomino, I'd probably prefer it if it's got a bit more to it, but I don't know if it'll work any better with 2.
Right. Okay, so moving on to number 3 on the Tabletop Together tool list is Gaia Project, which we talked about. So no surprise there, because that is getting a lot of hype and buzz. Number 4 is Photosynthesis, which we've talked about. So we're not going to talk about that again, trees and stuff. Now, as of yesterday, Nusfjord was number 5, but as of this morning, or whenever, Agra is now number 5. It's just pipped it. So have any of us had chance to look into Agra?
I don't think very much. It's
Not
on
much,
my list.
yeah.
I saw it on a video about a month ago or something, and I hadn't paid any attention to it.
Right.
But it's got a great big kind of 3D cardboard board that you make. That's the thing that I was most
of
interested in.
tracks
It's a
on
bit
it,
shallow. But yeah, it's got a great big kind of ramp that you put all of the cubes and things on, and it's a area control game. That's what I know about it. But
Okay.
speaking of weight, the weight of this one is 4.43
Out of 5. So Quind games generally do pretty good stuff.
this is by the same guy who did Legrand
Yes.
from a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
Michael Keller.
Is that Michael Keller? There's 3 Michael Kellers. So
This is apparently Michael Keller the second, according
The
to Board Game
second.
Geek, whatever that means.
yes, but it's by the guy that did Le Grand Her. The artist is Michael Menzel, and I have bought games where he was the artist without knowing anything about the game. I mentioned earlier on I was shallow.
Yep.
So yeah, and I'm glad that this sneaked into number 5 because it's made me look at it, and I'm very likely to get this game just from name of the designer, name of the publisher, name of the artist, and just looking at the board. I can look at a board and go, yeah, that looks like the kind of game I would like.
Yeah.
I've done that before, and it's generally worked out well. Pillars of the Earth was one that I did that on. So yes, this is going high on my list. I'm going to get a copy of that definitely.
Yeah, any game where you assemble some kind of 3D monolith, I'm a lot more interested in.
If only it was in space, eh, Tom? If only it was in space and we had space bowls. Very little information about it. Is the rule book out yet?
It is.
Yes, the rule book is out. So I will be downloading that and reading that on the plane on the way over there probably. So that's Agra. So that is the top 5 games from the Tabletop Together tool. So now we're going to talk about some of the games that we're interested in, and if any of the games we are interested in are ones that we've previously mentioned. We're not going to talk about them again, but I think it's worth mentioning that we are looking forward to them. So the first one on my list, possibly the only one on my list at the moment, is Transatlantic. And I know very little about this, but I was on a Facebook group earlier this week or last week, and somebody said, "Oh, I wonder why Transatlantic isn't getting much buzz, because it's coming out at Essen." And I thought, and there was a couple of pictures of it, and I thought, "Oh, those pictures look nice." And I had a look at it, and it's the new game from Matt Gertz, designer of Concordia and Navigador and all of those other ones. So I don't know much about this yet, but based on the little I do know, I'm interested. So this is on my list to have a look at sometime over the next couple of weeks. Any of you two heard of this one?
Unfortunately, this one passed me by entirely.
Right.
I'd realised, I think I saw from a Reddit post a similar thing of why is nobody talking about this, and then I realised that I'd skipped past it on the list. I don't know if I assumed it was just something that I'd seen already that I wasn't interested in. But yeah, as soon as I saw it was Matt Gertz, love Concordia, so same, I'm taking a look at it just based on that.
So this game might be absolutely awful, and we're now saying check it out. But what I'm saying is, this game is of interest to me because of the little bit that I've read about it. Developing modern steamships prior to World War I, whatever. There's the setting thing. It's the mechanics that I'm interested in. But as I say, anything from Matt Gertz is an instant got to look at this. He's done a series of really, really good games. So that's on my list as one that I'm definitely going to be having a look at in the next couple of weeks. And if it is anything like I think it is, then that's going to be one that I'm going to be picking up when I'm there. Right. Who wants to go next?
Well, I mean, my number one is the one we were alluding to earlier.
Right. Which isn't on the BGG list.
But it's, of course, Pandemic Legacy Season 2.
Right. And that's not on BG... Oh, it's not on the tool?
It's not on the tool. Yeah.
It's not on the... Yeah, it hasn't been submitted to the list at all. But I don't think Z-Man have done any of their games yet.
They're not... Z-Man's not on the list at all yet.
Right. So Pandemic Legacy Season 2 is on BGG.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just not on the list.
Correct. Yeah.
And that will be available at Essen.
From everything that I've heard, yes. I've not heard anything about them delaying it.
Okay.
But yeah, I am slightly concerned.
Season 1 was available at Essen, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they want to hit Essen with it.
Right.
And it was at Gen Con in a demoable form.
Yep.
And they've released, the final box art and final pictures of the board and stuff, so...
Yeah, they've been doing teaser videos as well, I think.
Right, so...
I haven't really watched anything about it, but I've seen them pop up.
They're just doing, like, the Fantasy Flight thing of not announcing it until close to the actual event. Yeah,
but Fantasy Flight don't even announce that the game's going to even exist. And then all of a sudden... There's 2,000 copies of Twilight Imperium 4th edition sat on the shelf. Whereas everybody knows this is happening. It's just, Okay. So that's a must-buy for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the first one. And I was always a big fan of Pandemic anyway.
Right.
But my girlfriend and I played through Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and loved it, so...
Just the two of you? Just
the two of us, yes.
Okay.
And it worked great too. So
yeah, I mean, we played through Pandemic Season 1. There were 4 of us. We loved it at the start, and then I loved it in the middle. There was a lot of stuff that was going on in the middle that I found quite interesting. I could tell that the way the storyline was going, that it was definitely evolving and gaining momentum. And then in the last 2 or 3 months, we were like, I just want this to be over now. We're just a bit. Bored of it. The ending kind of fizzled out for us, and we're now not sure we're going to get Season 2.
Oh,
so yeah. We loved the experience of all getting together and playing it, and we played, I think it took us like 18 games or something like that. If it is a similar experience next time, but probably too similar, we might pass. Because we've got other things to do, and we're happy we've done it, but would we want to go through that again? Now, I might be completely wrong. If you've played Season 2 and you say, oh wow, it was so different, it was completely this, whatever,
Well, it's certainly, I mean, just from the look of the map picture that they've published, I mean, the map starts hidden
it's an
and
island.
covered.
Yeah.
And you're going to be discovering what's out there. So, I mean, that immediately is a huge change to classic Pandemic, but...
Yes, there's an exploration aspect.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, this is set in the future. The polar ice caps have melted and whatever, and the water levels have risen and something like that. And you're now on an island somewhere.
I think it sort of follows on from the first one.
Okay.
It certainly follows on from how my storyline went. Kind of post-apocalyptic wasteland or something like that. Right. So I don't know. I think it's still... I think the world map is going to be the same, but you don't know where the cities and population centers are necessarily going to be, and there's stuff. And I think the storyline starts with a group of survivors on some load of ships in the middle of the Atlantic or whatever. But it's about a century after the last one finished. Okay,
yeah, so it is in the future then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of being a bit negative on it, but if the time suited, and 4 of us got together and said, "Oh, do we want to do this for the next few months?" then I'd probably say yes. But there is Gloomhaven. There you go. Contractual obligation fulfilled. I have mentioned Gloomhaven, and we're doing that every couple of weeks on a Sunday, and that's taking the time. So it's fitting in another legacy game. Not sure about. So.
Yeah, and now has to compete with Charterstone as well as another legacy
and
game.
Charterstone as well. So Charterstone, we were definitely going to buy. After we'd played Pandemic Legacy Season 1, or when we were halfway through, we were like, we're definitely getting Charterstone. And now we're not sure whether we're getting Charterstone or not as a group. So we probably will at some point, but again, when are we going to fit this in? How are we going to do it? So what about you, Tom, about Pandemic Legacy Season 2?
Yeah, definitely. It would be my number one, but I'm being a needless stickler and not putting it on my list until it's on the real list.
Right. So when Z-Man and Eric Martin get round to putting it on the list, will it then go to your number one?
It will definitely be number one. I love Season 1. It was fantastic.
Right.
I think it's a bit easier for us because I just play with my girlfriend Rachel, so it's just 2 of us to organise.
Yeah.
So both of you just played it 2-player.
Yeah. Yeah. And ridiculously fast.
Okay.
I just wanted to play it constantly. She was kind of being reasonable and saying, "No, let's put it away for today. Let's not play all games on it today."
It's 4:00 in the morning. Tom, I'm going to be up for work at 7.
The one thing I changed though is that we were finding it quite easy especially towards the end.
Yeah.
And because I had kind of blocked off all forums and everything about it so I wouldn't be spoiled.
Yep.
I hadn't seen people talking about this, that a few people had felt like that and had just taken an epidemic card out of just normal Pandemic and used it with Legacy, because that's a difficulty change in normal Pandemic.
Yes.
If you just put another epidemic card in. And I didn't think of that. So if we feel that way about Season 2, I'll definitely do that with this.
Right. Yeah.
But it was amazing. It was amazing.
So that's number one
amazing,
on
Paul.
both of your lists.
Yes.
You've both got this as your
No,
number
it
one.
isn't, because it's not on any list.
But it will be.
Maybe.
When you arrive in Essen...
They might cancel it.
I don't think they will. So, right, another one that's on my list that hasn't been mentioned anywhere else. Merlin.
Oh,
and I'm surprised this is not higher on lists and there's more buzz about it, because it's Stefan Feld. And Stefan Feld is awesome. And this is the new Stefan Feld game for this year. So it's a must go. It's a must get. There's just no question about whether I'm going to get it or not. It's Stefan Feld, so
I think
I'm getting it.
I don't think I can. For some reason, I just can't get that excited about it because it's just Eurogame. It's Stefan Feld, which is great. I love the Stefan Feld games that I've played, and I know that when I play it, I'm almost certainly going to enjoy it. But I just can't get thrilled and excited about it. It just looks so classical.
So I've got 2 words that will hopefully get you more excited about it.
All right.
Stefan Feld.
Oh my God.
Right. Yeah, there you go, you see. You've seen the light. I don't know very much about this game, apart from it's Stefan Feld, so I'm definitely game. No, I've seen pictures of the board, and I saw pictures of the board from when people were taking photos of it at Gen Con or Origins or some previous events. And again, I looked at the board and I went, I'm going to like this game. So it's another one. If you like Stefan Feld games, then do check it out. This one's being published by Queen Games, who've done some of his other games in the past. Amerigo was done by Queen Games, and probably some others, I can't remember. But yeah, Merlin, so it's King Arthur, Knight, whatever.
Got a round table in the middle of the board.
Yeah, we'll see. I suppose that's where my early discussion about theme is that this has a round board, and I guess that simulates the round table or something like that. But I'm expecting just another solid Stefan Feld game, and if it is, then that's fine, because I'm trying to collect all of the Stefan Feld games, and I've got most of them. I think I've got about 15 of them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, definitely. But for pretty much the same reasons. Just
right, okay.
As soon as I see Stefan Feld's name, I remember hearing that it's a lighter game than you might expect from the look of the board.
Okay.
The board looks like it's quite busy, but it's not a full-on, like, I don't know, Trajan level Stefan Feld game. It's it's co-designed as well. I just mentioned that.
Is it?
Michael
Rynek.
Apologies for the pronunciation. Yeah. Michael Rynek, who designed. I haven't played it, but Brutal Kingdom was a recent game.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
Cuba.
Well, like Cuba, which I played a few weeks ago.
I'm on Board Game Geek right now. I don't know this.
So it's all going to be the A to C.
Yeah, I played Cuba a couple of weeks ago, and I'm a big fan of Cuba. So yeah, I'd forgotten that he was co-designer on that one.
Oh, Pillars of the Earth. Yeah, that's probably one I've mentioned before. The other games. People have probably heard of that. But
Probably heard of Pillars of the Earth.
I remember watching a preview video, and someone at Queen Games kind of was trying to keep mentioning that whoever was interviewing kept just saying Stefan Feld.
Right.
And Queen Games was kind of just, it's this guy as well.
Yes, so apologies for that. It isn't just Stefan Feld, it is Michael Rynek as well, who did Pillars of the Earth, which I rate 9.5 out of 10, and Cuba, which I also really, really like. So,
So is it even higher on your list now?
It's now even higher on my list. I don't even know whether this is now going above. Yeah, this might now be the number one, based on this new information that I did know and had completely forgotten about. Yeah, we'll have to see. Right, who wants to go next with another one?
Okay, so I mean, my number 2 is Charterstone,
Yep.
which I think we've mentioned once or twice.
We have, yep.
My number 3 currently is The Expanse.
Right.
Which is, well, it's based on the books and TV series of the same name, which I've been watching.
Oh, there's books as well, is there?
It's the TV series is based on the series of books. Yeah.
Ah, right, okay.
Which I've not read, so I've only watched the TV series.
Right.
Up to whatever Netflix has allowed me to watch, and I really, really like it. So this is a game by Jeff Engelstein, and it's based on, and kind of like the inspiration for it comes from Twilight Struggle.
Yes.
So it's got some of those Twilight Struggle card play style of stuff, but it's for 4 players, and this is the perfect setting for a Twilight Struggle style game. Because it's all about the Cold War between various factions in the solar system when we started colonizing Mars and the Belt and the nasty corporations and stuff like that. So I'm very excited about this game.
You're on board with this. Do you know much about the game itself?
Like only that it's the Twilight Struggle mechanics.
Right. So all I know about this game, I mean, Jeff Engelstein has been on the show, so I've had a look at it. I've not watched The Expanse yet, but a number of people have told me about it and said it's a TV show which they think I would like. And I really like the idea of hard sci-fi for me. I'm a hard sci-fi person.
You'll like it then.
and the idea of you've got different factions and a bit of, political backstabbing or whatever stuff going on in a hard sci-fi setting. Yeah, really, really like that. I know a few people that played it at Gen Con and said it was really good. I knew a few people that played it at Gen Con and thought it wasn't very good at all. I've heard comments about some production issues with the game. it's WizKids that are producing it. I've also heard some, you know what, me and rulebooks, people come to me and they assume that I want to know about the rulebook. So a couple of people came to me and went, oh, you should have seen the rulebook for the game, Paul. It had this and it had this and it was really bad. And I'm like, just tell me about the game, So so I know bits about it. I'm keen to have a look at it. And is that, people were able to buy this at Gen Con, weren't they?
Yeah,
so I think
but
it is
only
out there.
a limited number of copies. I think there
Right, and Essen is the...
Essen is, I think, the main release.
Right, okay.
It's certainly not available in the UK yet.
Right.
Because I've been looking.
Okay. Tom, did you have any thoughts on this one?
I skipped past it on the list and couldn't remember why, but
even though it's in space.
Everything you've said has reminded me.
Yeah, it's in space.
Yeah, it's in space. But as soon as you see politics, intrigue, and all of that in the description, I'm not interested.
Right, that's a no for you then.
No, that is a firm no.
Okay, firm no from Tom. Right, okay. Tom, do you want to do some on your list?
Yeah. Well, my list, I want it to be controversial, but my number one is Charterstone, like everything else.
Well, at the moment it's Charterstone, but it's going to be Pandemic Legacy Season 2 in
Well, we don't know.
in a week's time.
We don't know. And then Nusfjord.
Yeah.
I need to work on that for when I do a video.
I like being a written blogger sometimes.
Number 3 is Pulsar 2849 from
I know
CGE,
about that one.
which
Yeah.
you might know something about.
I do.
It's set in space. It is 2849, and an interstellar energy boom is about to begin.
Yeah.
That's from your sneak preview, which people should probably go and check out.
Yeah. Second one will be up on Monday.
But it's a dice drafting game. We're trying to take control of pulsars on this big spacey map. Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe that's why I like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that. I played a brief sample of it at the UK Games Expo and really liked it. And so we're drafting dice and trying to get the best dice because they do the best things. But then there are tracks that we work out kind of the median value of the dice. And if you take one that's a lot higher, you will move on these tracks and maybe be further down in turn order or not get as many items. I'm being a bit vague on that, but that's what I remember about it.
Yeah, the dice drafting, I
excited.
mean, think Grand Austria Hotel. So in a 4-player game, there's 9 dice, you roll them at the start of the round, you put those dice in the spaces on the board corresponding to the number, and then there will be a settlers style draft so that everybody gets 2 dice. Now, so far, that's identical to Grand Austria Hotel. However, in this game, the higher dice are generally better, but if you take one of them, you also have a penalty. So there is decision that you have to make on, oh, well, that 6 is going to allow me to do this. But if I take that 6, I'm going to lose 3 points of initiative because there's the median marker, whatever. Or I could take the 2, which isn't a very good die, and it's not going to allow me to do that. But if I do take the 2 because it's on the left side of the median marker, I'll get a bonus. And that median marker moves around depending on what dice are rolled. So a lot of people have said, oh, it's just the same as Grand Austria Hotel, but it isn't because you have this extra bit. And as I posted on my on the sneak preview thread, when CG first showed me this game, and I said to them, I said, have you played Grand Austria Hotel? And they went, no. And I said, have you heard of Grand Austria Hotel? And they went, no. So I explained to them how the dice drafting worked in Grand Austria Hotel, and they went, And basically it's exactly, that bit, 9 dice in a 4-player game and you all take 2, is exactly the same. But Vladimir Suchy, who came up with it about 3 or 4 years ago and had never heard of Grand Austria Hotel. And it wasn't even out by then. Because this game's actually been in development for a number of years and was originally in medieval England, and you were going around and building cathedrals, is when I first saw it. And this was about 4 years ago in the Czech Republic. And they were all playing it and it looked interesting. And they said, oh yeah, we're still working on it. And then a couple of years later, he rethemed it to be a space theme. And of course, it's been streamlined. So the version that you played at UK Games Expo, it's still the core same game, but you will notice a number of changes to the game, a lot of which are small tweaks to some of the mechanics and stuff like that. So there's now a fixed number of rounds, for example. There isn't the time marker anymore. It used to be that the time marker moved based on the results of the dice. So some games might be 7 rounds and some games might run to 9 rounds. That's all gone. Vlad just stepped in and analysed it, did the maths on it and went, no, this isn't going to work because of this. And we all went, oh yeah, you're right, like we always do. So it's now a fixed number of rounds. It's now 8 rounds. So little things like that have changed. but overall it's still the same fundamental mechanic. So yeah, that's CGE's new game for this year. And if anybody wants to know more, then check out the BGG sneak preview articles. I say first one went up last week. Second one I'm hoping to put up on Monday.
Yeah.
So
I was interested just based on, and I'm going to maybe just use a sample of your voice to say his surname in my videos. Vladimir Suhi?
Suhi, yeah.
Suhi. But yeah, I loved Last Will and Prodigal's Club and Shipyard. I won't shut up about. But yeah, just based on that. But then it turns out that it's a really, really cool game in its own right, based on the little demo I played.
Yeah, cool. Okay, back to you, Matt. Another one from your list.
Yeah, so another one that I'm quite excited by is Noria.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I heard somebody talk about this last week.
Which I think Eric Martin at Board Game Geek News did a preview article on it.
Yeah, front cover looks really nice.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? I love the whole floating islands, flying boats, ships aesthetic, sort of steampunky. And then it's got kind of a intriguing new mechanism that they're calling wheel building.
Okay.
Which is so each player has an action wheel, which has 3 rings on it, and slots for different discs that you can move around and add new discs and change the wheel and stuff like that. No idea exactly how that works, but it's different enough to have piqued my interest, and then combined with the art.
Yeah, I mean it's 2 of my favourite artists. So it's Clement Franz and Michael Menzel again. So artwork-wise, yeah, it's grabbed me straight away. New designer, Sophia Wagner.
Yeah. She won something, right? Winner of the Spiel des Jahres Fellowship in 2015.
Yes.
Which is
whatever that
something,
is.
I think. I might be wrong about this, but I think it's some kind of like funding for designers. Kind of like a grant for them to be able to design games and not have to worry about having a job on the side type thing.
Right.
So I have no idea how she won this or what the story is behind it or whether I'm right in saying that, but I think that's what it is.
Okay. Right, I'm just looking at on BGG, there is a video of the action wheel teaser, which shows how the action wheel works. And yeah, that looks pretty cool. So I think this is being added to my list. As certainly one to definitely have a look at.
Yeah. All I've seen is that video.
Of the turning wheels.
It's about 5 seconds of a wheel turning, but it was enough for me.
Nice.
Right. So is that on your list as well, Tom? Or
yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure of because it's got a ton of publishers listed as publishing it. I'm not sure who's going to have it in English yet.
Stronghold probably will.
It's on my list. Oh, there.
Yeah, Stronghold will be doing the English version, Pegasus Spiel will be there with the German version, but it's also Hobby Japan, Edition Spielwise, White Goblin Games, so yeah, they're all involved. So yeah, that looks good, so that's Noria. Tom, you next?
Yeah, my number 4 is The Palace of Mad King Ludwig.
Is that not out yet?
No. That's an Essen release. It's been demoed, it was there for demo at Gen Con. Right. But yeah, it's releasing at Essen. And I love the Suburbia Castles of Mad King Ludwig line. And this is a bit of a twist on it. So similar setting to Castles of Mad King Ludwig, but now we're all building one great big palace for him rather than individually building castles.
But it's still a competitive game.
Yeah, it's competitive, but we are collaboratively building a palace out of square tiles.
Right, okay.
So yeah, you will all be competing for our own points, but we'll presumably have to work together in some way.
So it probably fits that sweet spot as if you like the previous games, you're going to like this one, but it's sufficiently different enough that you're going to want to buy it.
Yeah, because a lot of people I spoke to after Castles came out were saying that they wouldn't play Suburbia again, or
That's me.
that it didn't replace Suburbia for them, or one way or the other. But yeah, this seems different enough that you won't have to think about that.
Okay, yeah, for some reason I think this has been talked about so much for quite a while that I thought it was already out, but clearly not.
Yeah, it's been teased for quite a while, but as far as I know, Essen is the proper launch for it.
Okay, back to you, Matt. Anything else on your list?
Yeah, my number 5 is Rajas of the Ganges.
Never heard of it. Brilliant, right.
Yep.
I've heard of it, and it's on my list, but I
Cool.
don't know anything about it. It's low down on my list because I haven't looked into it yet. I think it's a maybe still.
Yeah, this
It's from
is...
the brands, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Marcus and Inca brand,
Oh, right, okay.
who recently did the Exit games and Word Slam, but also did Village from the...
Yeah, they've done loads.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I've only really come across them in the last year, like knowingly, like as a name that I recognise, kind of thing.
I think I have too.
Yeah. There's like, oh, Exit and Word Slam are by the same people, and oh my god, they did Village as well? What the hell?
They did Murano, which I've not played yet, but that's supposed to be really good as well.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's one I've not played. So,
Right.
yeah, so this is a Eurogame, similar setting to Agra, but
Okay.
yeah, there's you're each got your own like region of India that you're building up with tile laying, and there's worker placement on the main board, and there's some dice elements for like dice as kind of resources almost. But I think what's really caught my eye mechanically is you've got 2 score tracks
Yeah, I can see that, just looking at the image.
which go in opposite directions. There's you've got kind of like an income and a fame, and they start at opposite ends of the snake around the board, and you're trying to get your markers to meet in the middle.
Ooh, that's a nice idea.
I think the game that triggers the end game or something like that, or it's not that necessarily that you win if you do it, but
So do you start by being loads of money but no fame?
no. So the tracks, so the 0 of income is next to the maximum value of the fame
right,
track.
so you start at 0 on both of them.
Yes, but they
Right.
wind round in the opposite direction.
That's an interesting little twist.
Yeah. So, and from those designers, that name, that's enough to get me
Yes.
very interested.
Yep. Have you heard much about this one then, Tom? You said it was on your list?
I'd just seen that it was Inca and Marcus brand, and it looked nice. So I think it's on the. I think I've got about 30 games that I've put maybe on that I need to look at the rulebooks for, but that's going on the list. I like the sound of that.
And that's a maybe.
I've heard enough. It's on the list now.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I mean, you're going to be at Essen, and you're not doing any work at Essen, so you're going to be there, and you're going to have time
I
to...
am doing work.
Yeah, whatever. You get to walk around, take photos, and play games.
Pretty much.
But what I'm saying is you're going to have a lot more time to see these games and play these games and see what they're really like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to get the inside scoop.
Yeah, and then come and tell me, and then I'll make a decision whether to get it or not based on what you say.
I will just tell you to buy all of the games.
Rajas of the Ganges. Right. Tom, have you got anything else left, or was that your number 5 on your list?
My 5 is Kitchen Rush from Artipia Games.
Yes.
And it's actually one of 2 games this Essen that uses a similar thing. So it's a cooperative game where our workers are sand timers, and you'll place. It's a real-time game, so you'll place them on actions, but you can't use them again until the sand timer has run out. And we're running a restaurant, and so it's all hectic, and we need to get things served and things prepared. But there's another game that's from completely different designers called A Tale of Pirates. That I'm more excited about Kitchen Rush, but I really like the idea of 2 people completely separately having a very similar idea.
Right.
Because we're on a pirate ship and we're all using sand timers to try and fend off attackers and things.
Well, the sun timers as workers has been done before.
What?
It has. It's not a new thing.
I think you'll find, Paul, that this is the first I've heard of it.
Yes.
So it must be brand new. I contradict you.
And it was a game which didn't do that well. And one of the problems is that sometimes it's very difficult to get them the same time.
Yeah. I saw that mentioned in the Kitchen Rush forums, and David, again, surnames, sorry, Turksy, has said that he's factored that into Kitchen Rush, at least.
Yes. And going back to what I was saying earlier on about the theme, the sun timers as, right, okay, you've got a guy frying an egg, put a sun timer on it. When the sun timer runs out, that means he's finished frying that egg. It fits, that mechanic fits with the theme and the hecticness of working in a kitchen. It just sounds really, really good. Sounds, like a really, really nice idea.
It was available to try at the UK Games Expo. Did you manage to try it? Because I didn't.
I watched people try it.
Okay.
It was very, very full, the Artipia. Well, that section of the Artipia booth.
Yeah.
It seemed there were constantly people trying it out. But yeah, it looked great. And I watched the Rada run through when it was on Kickstarter. Yeah, I'm completely into it. The theme of having the Santimes as workers does fit in this really well.
Yes,
and I like the food theme anyway. And tons of people have said this to David as well since he announced it. That there's a video game called Overcooked that's a cooperative game where it's very, very hectic and you're in kitchens trying to make things cook, and it's really, really good. And it's very reminiscent of this board game, but he'd never heard of it.
He'd never heard of it.
It's nothing to do with it.
It's fascinating how sometimes this kind of thing, does happen. Now, I know David's been working on this for a while. I'm a friend of David, and he actually pitched this game to CG a number of years ago. So he's had this one, in the back of his mind, and he's been working on it and everything else. And he's been approaching various publishers, over the years, and Artipia is the one who picked it up, but it does look like they've done a good job with it. So next time you're on BGG, Tom, have a look at Space Dealer 2006.
I'm a board kinking right now.
There you go, Space Dealer 2006. 30-minute soundtrack, Sun Timers. Basically,
this is 3 to 4 players, Paul. This doesn't count.
And it's not cooperative.
No, it's not food themed.
No, it's not food themed.
So really, it's not a Santime game.
It's certainly not an egg timer, right? Not anymore.
Even though it's got lots of sun timers in it. Yeah, so you put these sun timers down, and then you can't do anything with it until the sun timer runs out. So there are various points in the game, and I assume it's the same with Kitchen Rush, where you're literally sat there just looking, waiting for which one finishes, and then it finishes, and then you pick it up and you put it somewhere else. And yeah, it's interesting. It's nice using different physical components for stuff like that. So anyway, that's all of our lists, I believe. I don't think I had a top 5. The only ones I mentioned that weren't on the 5 from the Facebook group and the Tabletop Together tool was Merlin and Transatlantic. But actually, thanks to you two and the other list, I now feel a lot more prepared for Essen, which is basically what this podcast was for. It was me not having time to look through the list myself, so I thought I'd get you to do all my work for me. But yeah, my list is probably now at least 8 that I'm very, very likely to pick up, which I think is a good number for definites. So, Tom, anything that we've talked about today which would now be added to your list after we've talked about it?
Yeah, Rogers of the Granges was, I've pronounced that horribly, haven't I? But, like I said, that was just a maybe that I hadn't really looked into, but definitely gonna try and pick that up. But my list is just stupid. I could never afford all of the games on it, or even bring them back if I could. Right.
What about you, Matt? Anything we've talked about today that would?
Yeah, I think Agra should probably go on my list.
Okay.
It's one that, everyone's been mentioning. It's been on the back of my mind, and it's never quite pushed its way into my top games. But I think I'm going to give up resisting for whatever reason that I was resisting.
Yeah, cool. Well, me and Tom will be at Essen. You won't be, Matt, unfortunately, but hopefully.
I won't be, no, but I'll pick all my stuff up later.
So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. And again, thanks to everybody on the Board Game Trading and Chat Facebook group for doing the voting. Hope you found this useful. That's probably it. I'm planning to do one more podcast before before Essen, but it might not happen. And the reason for this is literally the weekend before I go to Essen, and I fly to Essen on the Monday morning. So yeah, the weekend before, I'm having Paul's amazing pre-Essen Games weekend. And the idea of this, and I've been doing it now for the last couple of years, is that we get out all of the games that we got from last year's Essen, and we spend a weekend playing through them all. Because after that, the weekend after that will be Essen, and the weekend after that, it will be all new games. Mm-hmm. So for the next 6 months after Essen, or 3 or 4 months at least, it will be all of the new games that we've all brought back, all the cults of the new, all the new hotness, and the ones that we got last year's Essen, some of them might never get played again. So this is our chance to go through them all, and we'll try and get through every single game that we all bought at last year's Essen. But it's also a good thing because if we get the game out and we play it again and we go, oh, okay, right, I'm I'm done with this one now. You know, I played it when I got it and I liked it. Now I've played it again. Okay, can move on. Or other ones we might get out, play again and go, no, this is still as fantastic as we thought. So it kind of helps in working out which ones are the ones which are going to last. And it also gives us a basis for ones going into this year's Essen, you know, having played through some of the ones that we got from last year. Plus, I just like having games weekends and playing games, so any excuse, basically, to organise one. Matt, you're going to be able to make it to that?
Yes.
Tom's washing his hair, I think, so he can't make it.
I am. It's my birthday spectacular weekend. That's the real reason you're having gaming. I think we might be leaving on the Sunday as well to go to Germany.
You're leaving on the Sunday?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
We're driving.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you're driving?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Well, that helps with the bringing the games back.
Yeah, you just throw them in the boot.
Yeah, just take them to the
You can
top.
fit 30 games in a car.
No
problem.
So.
When I used to drive, we used to stack so many games in the car. The people on the back seat basically had games on their knees, and I had games underneath my feet in the front driver's thing as I was. Yeah. Well, it was just we've got to bring back as many as we can. You know, it's less important these days, but you know, it's part of the buzz and the atmosphere of going there and buying all of these games, and you know, it's all part of the experience and the fun. But now I fly. I don't bring back as many games. I just give them all to Paul from Games Law. He puts them in his van, and then he comes down to see me in November and gives me all of my games. Because last year, of course, was the game where I brought back one game from Essen in my suitcase. One game and one game only.
Oh yeah.
Along with my socks, and that was Gloomhaven. So yeah, the only game I actually brought back with me in my suitcase was Gloomhaven.
Well, last year they at least had the postal system that you could...
Have they got that this year?
I think so. I mean, I haven't looked into it, not going, but I'm pretty sure they do. It was pretty busy last year.
Apparently they've improved it because
I hope
it was quite flooded towards the end.
Yeah.
See, I never used it, but I think it's great that they've offered that. So yeah. Anyway, right, let's wrap things up because my laptop's about to die, and we are just about an hour, I think, or just over. So. Yeah, thanks very much for both joining me, and I guess I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you and bye, yeah.
Bye.
So just to finish off this podcast, I wanted to let everybody know that Gaming Rules has finally got round to launching a Patreon. I say Gaming Rules as if it's like a third party. It's me, and it's my procrastination and various other reasons why I haven't got round to it, and I've been meaning to do it for over a year now. Friday, the 6th of October, I finally decided to go live on Patreon after months of trying to work out how I was going to do it and then last minute changes. And a number of people, way more than I expected, have jumped on board and wanted to support me, which is amazing, and I am really, really happy with how it's gone just from the start. So what I said I would do, everybody who backed me, I would give a personal thanks. So I'm actually editing this podcast now on Sunday morning. And what I wanted to do is just go through all the people that have currently supported me on Patreon. So I've had 3 people back me at the executive producer level. So this is Alexander Berlenstrala from Sweden. Thank you very much, Alexander, for you were first in there as the first executive producer. Kim Vikos got in there as well, and then Nick Smith from the Ludwig, which is a board game cafe which is going to start up in London. So they're actually on Kickstarter right now looking for funding, but Nick's going to open one of the great board game cafes that we've got in this country. So thank you very much for that. There are then 10 people that have backed at the producer level, which is Jonathan Cox from John Gets Games. As a number of people will know, I've mentioned John a few times. John does his own YouTube channel. He does a great quality reviews, and in fact, I was actually wearing my John Gets Games shirt yesterday when his pledge came in. So that was a bit of a coincidence. Andrew Kerrison, good friend of mine from down here in Exeter. Thank you very much, Andy, for your support. Christopher Incow, who is twin brother of Paul Incow. I've worked with Paul professionally. I've met both Paul and Chris at conventions, got to know them a bit, played games with them, in fact, and look forward to seeing them again. Steve Manser, who also lives down near me in Exeter. Thank you very much, Steve, for the chauffeur-driven service to HandyCon earlier this year, and I hope to see you again soon. Brandon Kemp from the What Did You Play This Week podcasting. What Did You Play This Week podcasting is, believe it or not, it's a podcast in America which has lots of people on it Really good discussion, lots of good things going on there. Thank you very much for that. Chewy, very good friend of mine. I've known Chewy for a very long time. He's supported me in many ways, other than financially. Now he's supporting me financially as well. So very much appreciate that, Chewy. Thank you very much for that. Chris Greenall has also supported me. Thank you very much, Chris. Scott Bedell or Bedell, not sure how you pronounce it, Scott, so apologies if I've messed that up. Your pledges are appreciated as well. Kevin Burkhardsmeyer, for those people who listen to my podcast, I did a pod blast earlier this week with Kevin talking about his new Game Toppers thing. I met Kevin a couple of years ago and become good friends with him. Big supporter of everything that Kevin does. One of the things you may know him for is he dresses up in costume and does demos at conventions, usually for Arcane Wonders, and he and his family do board game theatre, which is basically sort of them playing a board game, but they all dress up in costume, and it's really entertaining and great to watch. The final producer is Mark Cook, who organises Aircon. Big supporter of Mark and Aircon, and I went to Aircon this year, and I'm going to go again next year. So they're all the producers. Other people that have backed me, there's Anthony Chetkas, Victoria Blackburn. Victoria is actually the official Gaming Rules photographer and chief biscuit taster, so it's good to have her supporting. Paul Incow, mentioned earlier on. Graham Charlton, thank you very much, Graham. Always enjoy seeing you at the conventions and playing games with you, or teaching you how to play games, which is more likely what happens. Andrew Loch, Kevin Duffy, Alex Batterby, thank you very much for that. We've then got Phil the Sheep. Phil's been really supportive of me in the past, and he's even done a couple of rulebook checkings for me. Thank you very much for that. Barry Doublet, I don't know how you want to pronounce it, Barry, because you keep pronouncing it differently whenever I speak to you. Barry's English, lives in France, does great quality videos himself, and we both love War of the Worlds. So big supporter of Barry. Tony Simpkins, thank you very much, Tony. Jessica Turner, thank you very much. Jack, I don't have a surname in there, so it'll be just Jack, I'm afraid, but thank you very much. Mason Weaver, always like engaging with you on Twitter. Skeeter Murphy. Tom Heath, who you've heard from earlier on in the show. Thank you very much, Tom. Eric Buscemi, who was on the podcast last time, episode 52. Eric's the main guy behind Punchboard Media, which I am a member of. Ulysses Fazoli, that I may have mispronounced, so apologies if I have. And thank you very much to everybody. So that's where we are. It's 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I'm going to try and work out how to do the early access so that some people can get this podcast today. I've got to go and get ready, prepare for Gloomhaven this afternoon. Thank you very much to everybody who has supported me so far. And if you're interested, it's patreon.com/gamingrules. And I hope to carry on creating great content and more of it in the future. So, Gaming Rules is sponsored by Gameslaw, the UK's largest specialist games retailer at gameslaw.com. The music used in this podcast is from Jason Shaw at audionautics.com. Gaming Rules is a proud member of Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table, and a supporter of the Board Game Trading and Chat Facebook group in the UK. Until next time, take care and thanks for listening.